What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Primetime Carolina, the best damn Panthers podcast that you've ever listened, seen, heard, however you're viewing it. We took a little bit of a break there last week, holiday weekend, had some stuff going on, but we're back better than ever. Dave, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Hey man, what's up? I'm good. How are you?
No, I'm doing good, man. I had a good weekend, a good long break. Good to spend time with family and just relax, be off work. We all need more time of that. So,
I swear. You what how many brewskis did you get down yesterday?
well, I didn't drink a ton yesterday, but I did play. I played golf Sunday as well, and that's where most of the drinking went down.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a little bit more laid back, actually focusing on playing, but Sunday was a good day. But,
Yeah. I had a few on Sunday, so I was thinking I wouldn't, go too hard on Monday, and then I ended up going way harder on Monday. So,
it's
it,
only
you know,
right, man.
it is
It's
what it
only
is.
right. It
That's
is
right.
what it is. That's right. But we all know why we're here. We're talking some Carolina Panthers football here. OTAs have been in progress. I haven't heard a ton of stuff out of OTAs, but I could be wrong here. You can check me. Or is media allowed at OTAs, or is that just a very team oriented deal? Because
I think they're allowed. Um, I feel like I see stuff from, just run of the mill, media
yeah,
guys, but
I don't get the same like training camp, like, oh, this is the guy to watch out for. Like, it's just like there's not a whole lot of news coming out other than just seeing pictures of guys just,
yeah.
doing drills and working out and playing. So
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, you see, a handful of clips here and there, but those are usually put out on like the team social media
mhm.
platforms and stuff. So I'm not exactly sure, but I feel like, I see guys who don't work for the team but cover the team,
Mhm.
um, putting out little bits of information. So I don't know. It might be one of those deals where it's like part of it the media is allowed to attend and then they have to leave. I don't know.
Correct. Yeah, they might have some sort of regulation where they can't like post all this stuff about what they're seeing and what's going on, maybe something like that. But yeah, OTAs have been going on. Nothing much to report of, anything crazy. No one's been injured yet. Knock on wood, thank goodness. But we'll see what goes on. Is regarding the Panthers somewhat, some of the big news the past week or so that's been going around is obviously Julio Jones getting traded from the Atlanta Falcons. I think if they trade him, they're going to save. I'm not sure what the cap savings is going to be, but it's going to be a lot because they need it desperately. I've been looking around. I've seen a couple of teams. I've seen the Patriots. I've seen the Seahawks. I've seen the Titans. I've seen the Ravens. I've seen a couple other teams in there. What are your thoughts on Julio Jones potentially getting traded, and where would you like to see him go?
Well, I'm glad to see him get out of our division. That's awesome because I actually really like Julio Jones, but
Yeah.
it's like I've always I can never cheer for him because he plays for one of our biggest rivals. So it'll be cool to be able to root for him a little bit more. Um, and obviously I'm always supporting Cam, so I'm hoping he lands with the Patriots. That would be the best number one receiver Cam's ever had for sure. Um, nothing against Steve Smith, but he was a little older back when he played with Cam, so he
Correct.
wasn't the Steve Smith that we know Steve Smith is. Um, so I think that would be cool. I also wouldn't hate to see him land with Baltimore. I don't really know why. I don't know. I think him and Lamar Jackson could be kind of cool, I guess. Um, they haven't really had a super dominant receiver, especially in Lamar Jackson's time there. So
Hmm.
with his crazy running ability, they might be able to do something special, pairing, a big time wide receiver like that on the outside. So I think that would be pretty cool to watch too.
I I like the idea of the Ravens a lot. I don't think it's going to happen. From things I've said, but I could be completely wrong. But I like the Ravens a lot because they've kind of had their run with very good like veteran wide receivers that they come to the Ravens a little bit later on in their career. You've got Anquan Bolden, you got Steve Smith, who when they came there, they were older, but they were still, pretty good receivers. And Julio Jones, I mean, the guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's absolutely a stud. Granted, he does have some injury history. He does, miss a couple games a year, but what he gives you when he's on the field is worth it. And I know that I saw a report, I think yesterday, that the Falcons are going down on the asking price, so they would take a second round pick for Julio at this point, which is huge in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I would, if I'm the Ravens, they're in a win now mode. I mean, they've got young guys. They've got Lamar Jackson still on the rookie contract. They've got supporting pieces, but they need help on offense. They need help at the receiver position. You know what? Go give up a second round pick and get your guy at number one and see if they can go win this thing. I think that would be a great move. And I've also seen that he really wants to play with Cam Newton. It's funny because, all the pundits and people, what they say about Cam, maybe he's had a poor attitude or this and that or whatever, but people sure do love to play with the guy, or at least they said they would like to. So I wouldn't mind seeing him go to New England and seeing him ball out with Cam. I think that would be really cool. But I'm kind of like you. I like Julio as a player a lot. I might like to see him go somewhere and get a Super Bowl, but luckily it won't be with the Falcons at our expense.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting how people on the outside who don't know anything about what's going on the inside always have something negative to say about, Cam Newton's attitude and leadership and this and that, but every player he's ever played with says something different. And, even free agents want to go, to New England just to play with him. Except Kelvin Benjamin. Kelvin Benjamin have a lot of nice things to say about him, but
Did he make the team as the Giants tight end? Have you heard any updates on that?
they signed him, yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if
I
that
mean,
was.
he's still got a long way to go to make the team, but yeah. He's kind of like their version of Tim Tebow, just a long shot tight end right now.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Um, Speaking of, that's actually a really good point. And I know this is the Panthers related show, but these are just some general topics that I just want your opinion on. Um, what's your opinion on the whole Tebow deal? It's kind of simmering down now. We're a couple weeks after he's been signed. What were your initial thoughts about that? About him just coming back and playing tight end and just seemingly popping out of nowhere?
I mean, it's cool, I guess. I'm not by any means expecting him to do anything. I think he's, I mean, if he makes the team, I think that'll be surprising to me.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to come in and make a difference, but crazier things have happened, and he's got that angels in the outfield, uh, you know, extra help behind him. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I've never been a big Tebow guy really, but I've always hated Florida too. So I think that's just the biggest reason. So I mean, I don't know. If he come in and do something, I guess it'd be kind of cool. But I don't really have a strong feeling about it either way because I don't really see it as a big move. If his name was Ronald McDonald, no one would even know that he signed.
I know it's funny, it just goes to show you that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And we all know that he, pretty much all this had to came to the fact that he knew he was good friends with Urban Meyer, his old coach. What? I've always liked Tebow. I guess I'm not like a huge fan, but I'm not a hater either. I mean, I like the guy, I respect him. I think he's done a lot of good in the community, and when he's done a couple things in the NFL, he was a great college player. But I think at the end of the day, whatever people have to say about it, whether it be political or this or that, whatever they want to call it, the guy got the shot. He knows the coach. They were long term together in Florida. They're friends after that. They're really close. And the guy signed for the vet minimum. He's playing a position that he's never played before. We'll see what happens. I mean, if he doesn't do anything, fine. If he does, great. Why not? I know his jersey sales have been through the roof. And then, I've seen a couple of pictures of him. The dude looks jacked. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, he's huge. He's looking good. So we'll see. We'll see if he makes the team and see what happens. I'm not sure, but I know. It's funny because the Jags should be talking about Trevor Lawrence. They're talking about, yeah, we signed this guy as like a third string tight end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. Tim Tebow, man, that's just one of those names that's just, no matter what it is, if it's something that they can, get clicks and sell jerseys, I mean, they're going to find a way to do it. So,
Exactly.
it'll probably die down here pretty soon, but for now, people are talking about it.
Exactly. And it's funny because a couple of years ago, whenever I think he got cut by a couple of teams to release, people were dying for the Jaguars to sign him. And, that's when he was playing quarterback and still younger. And people were like, let's just, he's there. Get Urban Meyer, get Tim Tebow. Now this is actually happening like years later on, but it's a different circumstance. I just think that's kind of funny. So I do remember in the past, the Jaguars were still one of the worst teams in the league. They're like, let's sign Tim Tebow and sell some jerseys. Well, look, they've actually done it now. So,
You know what I thought was going to happen at the time? I thought the Jaguars were going to take Johnny Manziel for that reason to sell tickets. Because at the time, I mean, their ticket sales were so low and they were so bad that there were people talking about them moving.
yeah.
So that's what I thought they were going to do, is they were going to draft Manziel to sell tickets. Can't remember who they took that year. What year would I guess that was 2014?
I'm not sure. I'm not well versed in Jaguars draft history.
Dude, step your game up, bro. You
I
don't know
know.
about
What's wrong
Jaguars
with me?
draft history, bro? I think that was the year they took I think his name was like Josh Allen or something. I'm gonna look now because I'm thinking about it. Talk about something while I do this.
Exactly. But yeah, we'll see what he does. I know because I buy a new jersey every year, pretty much for a new player. And I was looking the other day and I saw his jersey was like number 1 on NFLshop.com, and I was like, wow. So
It was
did you
Blake
find it?
Bortles.
Blake Bortles, and even
I
better.
thought they drafted a quarterback, but I can't remember.
Ridiculous. But let's get back on some Panthers related topics here. I found an article that I went on Carolina Huddle. It's a great website. I don't know if a lot of Panthers fans they go on there. I'm sure they do, but that's a great website to go on if you just want to talk Panthers or look at some stuff what people say. Found an article on PanthersWire.usatoday.com. It's was made by Tim Weaver. It's 8 Carolina Panthers who could be poised for a breakout in the 2021 season. So I'm going to go down all 8 of these names here. Dave has now seen this article. Give his thoughts, opinions on who he thinks could be in for a breakout year.
Hey,
Maybe we should
it,
limit our expectations.
For the fun of it, can I try to guess who the 8 players are before you go through it?
Yes.
All right. Sam Darnold is definitely going to be on there.
Correct.
Let's go with DJ Moore.
Correct.
Are there any rookies on there?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to go with J.C. Horn.
Correct.
Brian Burns?
No, actually.
Derek Brown?
Yes.
God, he's slipping my mind right now. I'm trying to think of the linebacker's name. Jermaine Carter?
No.
No, not on there. All right,
well
I'll stop there. That's pretty good.
You were taking all the fun out of this, naming all the players that are listed here.
All right, let's go through it.
So, number 1, not necessarily a player, but a coach, Joe Brady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so now that he's gotten rid of Teddy Bridgewater, got a guy that's, got a bigger arm, definitely got some room for improvement, things to work with. I somewhat agree with this. I think Joe Brady last year at parts was really, really good, and there were parts that really made you scratch your head, especially when operating in the red zone and then kind of those short yardage situations. Don't know how much of that to do was with being new versus having a quarterback you didn't really care for, whatever. What are your thoughts about Joe Brady? Is he going to be better this year or worse?
I think he'll be better for a number of reasons. First of all, like you said, he was a rookie in that role last year, first year in the NFL. Well, first year as an offensive coordinator in the NFL. But if you look at those red zone opportunities. And this kind of goes back to that quote Teddy Bridgewater had where he said we didn't practice. It's funny because he said we didn't practice the two things that he sucked at. So to me, that just sounds like him trying to cover up the fact that he sucked in those situations and blame it on somebody else. But that's whatever. But when you have a quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater, who's Cap Noodle Arm back there, and you're in the red zone, those windows are tight, man. You're not the same. And I mean, you know, I don't want to only blame Teddy Bridgewater, but if your quarterback can't fit the ball into those windows, it's not going to work. And he really just couldn't do that most of the time. And you would look at it, and they like when they would get into the red zone, a lot of what they did was like read options or like swing passes, like stuff that they didn't do at all between the 20s. And then as soon as they get down there, it's like they have to find different ways to move the ball because they couldn't squeeze the ball into the windows they needed to.
I I agree a lot with what you're saying. I think coming off the LSU season that he had with all those guys, the best college football season of all time. Some people are saying, you know, the expectations were astronomical. And you got to think when the guy came in last year, he was 30 years old. That's really young for any kind of coaching position in any kind of pro sport.
Yeah, bro, that's crazy.
So, I
That's
mean,
young for like
that's
a high school coach.
yeah. I mean, that guy. I mean, that's insane. So, the fact he was able to come in and be successful is a testament to how good he is. He's not a joke. I think, given another year, given the system developed, we got more playmakers. We got guys that he wants in his system, a different quarterback that can do a couple different things. I think it's going to be even better. We got McCaffrey back. That's going to be a huge help. And I think when you look at the red zone, two things that they were able to do. One was they signed a tight end and they drafted a tight end. Tight ends are huge in the red zone, especially back in their Greg Olsen days, Jeremy Shockey days. You can have two tight ends that can, block or catch the ball within that radius. That's huge. That opens things up. Also, you get Christian McCaffrey back, along with the addition of Chuba Hubbard. Bring those guys in. We can ground and pound the ball. And, Sam Darnold's got a little bit of a cannon and, had some accuracy issues, but he's got an arm where he can make some plays. And I think that's important in the red zone. But can we just minimize on the mistakes? That's what's really important. But I think this year will be a little bit more of a well-oiled machine on offense.
Yeah, and I think going back to the whole Teddy Bridgewater conversation, I think a lot of people were surprised that Joe Brady got as much head coaching attention as he did.
Mm-hmm.
Being that the Panthers were a bad team, and the offense was good, but it wasn't amazing. But I think what a lot of NFL people realize is that we left a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns on the field last year. And it came down to guys getting open behind the defense and Teddy not being able to get him the ball in a timely manner or not be able to put it there accurately or, floating a duck up there and someone coming by and picking it off or knocking it down or whatever. I mean, those plays definitely happened, time and time again last year. And if you go back and you watch some of those, DJ Moore highlights, dude was plucking some balls away from two defenders at a time because Teddy was just chucking it up there and underthrowing a lot of balls where DJ or Robbie Moore or Curtis Samuel got behind the defense and he didn't get him the ball when he needed to.
I agree 100%. There was a lot of times the guys were open, ball just couldn't get there. You're leaving points on the board. And like you said, just kind of a lot of ducks, kind of a lot of things that just floated through the air. You got to have precision passing in those windows, like you said, whenever you get to the red zone. So I think Joe Brady will be better. And I personally, and I think most people would agree with this. I think maybe he might would agree with this. Probably not quite ready for a head coaching spot yet. Definitely one day, but just needs a little bit more time, a couple more years as a coordinator, and then he's definitely going to be one of the young guys that's getting a shot. I mean, he's going to be Sean McVay-esque, hopefully one day. So it's going to suck to see him go, but
Yeah, I agree with that. He's on his way. But like we just talked about, he's so young, he's so inexperienced. But I mean, it's obvious that he's got talent when it comes to drawing up an offense and
Mhm.
calling plays. So, um, I don't expect him to be our offensive coordinator for a super long time, but
Mhm.
while he's here, I think he's more than capable of doing a quality job. And yeah, next year I do expect him to have a good year. So.
Correct. So moving on next, a guy you already named, Sam Darnold. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I think we've beat this uh, horse to death already about what we expect and what we
Mhm.
know. The guy's got the weapons. He's got the coordinators. He's got the coaching. You know, it's all on him, man. I'm ready to see what's going to happen. It's I mean, the guy doesn't need to be like an amazing elite quarterback, but for us to really invest our future, I think we got to see some pretty major improvements.
Yeah, and I think with Sam Darnold just going back, to something I know I've kind of said in the past, but I'm gonna say it again. He doesn't need to do too much. I mean, the players around him are good enough, the coaches are good enough, the defense is good enough. If he can come in and play, yeah, this is gonna sound weird. If he can come in and play exactly like Teddy Bridgewater did last year,
Mhm,
but not miss the opportunities that are there, not dump the ball off on every play or every big situation like Teddy would.
mhm,
Go out and win us half of those 8 games that we had a shot at winning last year. Just don't do too much, man. If Teddy's a game manager, if Sam Darnold could come in and be a game manager, but take it, another level or two, that's going to be enough for us to win games. That's going to be enough for us to be a good team. He doesn't have to come in and go crazy. He just needs
mhm.
to come in and play smart, take care of the ball, make the plays that are there, and we'll be set because he has the tools. If it's there, he can take it. If it's not, let it go, live to fight another day. You got a good defense. You got great players around you.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. And I think, like you said, if he was replacing Bridgewater last year, and he goes in there and just wins a couple of those games where they were tight and they're close. I mean, we're talking about the Panthers, being a wild card team last year, potentially this year. I mean, the guy doesn't have to be elite. If he can go in there and show me that when it comes down to it, and hey, can you go in there and lead a comeback and win a football game? If he can just do that once or twice, a couple times, just be accurate with the ball, that's all we need. If we can get more good, if I think a good comparison here, I don't know why it just sounds good to me, is Jake Delhomme, a guy that when he was super good, man, he was hot. He was as good as anybody in the league. But when he was bad, it was really bad. But we hope we can see more good than more bad because the times we saw Jake when he was a gunslinger, he could get the ball down the field, make plays. You want to see a little bit of that, that raging Cajun in him instead of that, throwing 5 interceptions in a playoff game. But if we can get more good than bad, I like that
Well,
comparison. If he can just be something like that, I would be somewhat satisfied, I think.
yeah, and I mean that's really all we need. Um, and I think for years, we literally, I mean, we called Cam Newton Superman for years. We had to go out there and that's what he had to be for us to win because there was just nothing around him. Our offensive scheme was weak. Our offensive coaches were weak. Nobody knew what they were doing. They just relied on him to go out there and win the game for them. And when he was anything short of Superman, people would watch the game like, dude, he sucks. It's like, dude, he doesn't suck. He's surrounded by suckiness in every direction.
Yeah.
And it's like, if he's not perfect, they have no shot at winning.
Yeah.
So, every 8 weeks he wouldn't be perfect. And then somebody would be like, see, I told you he sucks. Look at this game. It's like, nah, man, that was the one game he played like a normal, athlete, normal quarterback. But,
Exactly. No, I agree 100%.
but
So
yeah, anyway, that's all we need is just a guy who can come in and play good quarterback, take care of the ball. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We don't need a Superman anymore. We just need a good, steady quarterback.
absolutely. So I agree 100% with that. Moving on to our next guy, number 3, guy you already talked about, DJ Moore. You know, I it feels weird because I feel like DJ Moore's been damn good, but I feel like we have barely even scraped the surface of how good this guy really is. It's funny because every season I watch him play, this isn't really his fault just because he hasn't been surrounded by good quarterback play. I just feel a little bit, I want more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, there's just he does some amazing things, but man, I feel like he could take it up a whole nother level and could be like something a true elite number one.
Yeah. The thing about DJ Moore is like, first of all, he's only, what, 23 or something. Like he's super young.
He's
20,
very young.
I think he's 24, maybe. I don't know. He's super young. He's only been in the league for 3 years, and he's already had, I think, back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons the last 2 years. So
Correct.
it's crazy that you can talk about a guy, having a breakout year when it's like he's got 2,200 yards in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Um, so that just goes to show you that, what we've seen has been very, very good, but we can look at it and still see that he is nowhere near his ceiling. And that's how it feels. And I tell people all the time, um, both last year, but especially in 2019, DJ Moore had the quietest 1,000 yards I can remember, because it's like it didn't even feel like he was putting up numbers like that. But then by the time, week 17 rolls around, the commentators are like, "Oh, there's DJ Moore surpassing 1,000 yards for the season." It was like, dang, really? It doesn't feel like he's been doing that, but he has. So my thing with DJ Moore is I don't really understand the way they've always used him, because he's such a good player when it comes to running after the catch. So in my opinion, it makes more sense to put him like in the slot and create ways to get him the ball,
Mm-hmm.
rather than having him just beat guys on the outside, which he's good at doing vertically, but I think he struggles to get separation on intermediate routes sometimes. So I don't know. It was kind of disappointing for me last year with Joe Brady. I kind of thought he would be a little more creative in ways to get DJ Moore the ball in space so he
Mm-hmm.
can make stuff happen with his ability to run after the catch. So, moving forward, that's something I think we could do better.
I mean, man, everything you just said was 10,000%, correct. I think it's funny because he quietly has good games. He's not a big personality. He's not out there. He's not Steve Smith. He's not drawing tons of attention to himself. He's just out there and he plays, and then that's it. So, but when he does get the ball and he makes these plays, it's like, oh my God, this kid is amazing. And then you wish you could see more of it. I think a lot of it has been scheming, getting the ball. He's kind of a hard player to predict, I guess, and draw things up for. I think I like what you said about being in the slot. That's when he's his best. He can beat guys vertically, but he's not a guy that you can just throw it 20, 30 yards down the field after a quick cut or something like that, and he's just going to be wide open. He's more of a possession type receiver. So I think, it can be a little bit tougher to draw plays up for him sometimes, but I think that the guy's got all the talent in the world. And I think another year with Joe Brady, a year with a quarterback that can actually throw the ball down the field. He can go vertical. He can work in between. I think we've only seen the beginning, and I really hope, we're talking about the next coming years. We're seeing the potential being reached instead of talking about, what could be. Because I'm not saying he's not a bad player. He's a very, very good player, but he could be elite.
Yeah. And I think that, I was kind of touched on that earlier, is like if you go back and watch some of those plays, you can see like he has one or two steps on a guy and then the ball gets underthrown. He has to go back and get it. So
Correct.
that's yards that are left on the field. But I think also a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've just been so bad, the last 2 years,
Yeah.
So I think because of that, he doesn't really get as much credit as he would if he was on a good team.
Correct.
1,100 yards, 1,200 yards. It doesn't mean as much when your team is 5-11 and 6-10. It means something when you're in the playoffs. So
Correct. Like,
if we find success, he'll get more attention.
exactly. Because, what was it, 2 years ago, Christian McCaffrey had the third player ever to go 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving yards. No one remembers that, I feel like. But
No.
because we were so bad that year, but he should have won the MVP or should have. I mean, I know we didn't make the playoffs, but damn, I thought he should have got the MVP that year. That's how good he was.
Yeah,
But
he was great.
coming up on number 4 on our list, a guy that you mentioned as well, I believe, Terrace Marshall. This is the pick I've been thinking about and visualizing the most. I don't think there's any way other than this kid either injuries or just not working hard that this guy can't be an absolute steal and another 1,000-yard receiver. This dude's got speed, he's got length, he's got the hands, he's athletic. He's already got two guys and ahead of him that are going to be drawing attention. There's no way this guy can't come up with like 500 to 700 yards receiving in his rookie season. I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think between him and David Moore, it'll be interesting to see how those guys are able to carve out a role with Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. Obviously, getting a majority of the targets downfield, and then
Mm-hmm.
McCaffrey will be back. That's going to be a large percentage of splitting up the ball. And like we touched on before, we got two new tight ends and three tight ends who could get the ball. So it's just gonna be interesting to see like if there's enough targets to go around. But like you said, I mean, the guy's got the size, he's got the speed. I mean, if not this year, you have to imagine very soon in the near future he's gonna be able to find a role, especially with Robbie Anderson. Only has 1 year left on his deal. So
Mm-hmm.
that's probably a role he'll step into in the future. Not to mention, there are, little murmurs that, Robbie Anderson might be on the trade block. I don't know if you have heard any of that, but I've seen that, kind of some whispers about that too. So, if that happened, which at this point, I don't think I will. I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened at the draft. Um, but either way, when Robbie's gone, that'll probably be the spot where he's going to step in and start making his money.
I have heard the Robbie Anderson rumors. I think it's a terrible move that the Panthers were going to make it because you're taking away a veteran, a guy that Sam Darnold's played with before, and then you're just going to start a rookie receiver. Granted, I think the guy's going to be great, but you kind of want to bring him in a bit slowly. You take him out, all you have is, I mean, you've got DJ Moore, you've got an unproven rookie, you've got David Moore, who's a number 3, and then you've got to keep throwing it to McCaffrey. I think that would be a terrible move. I want to stick with the guy for at least the remainder of his contract. So, but yeah, I think, he's going to come in slowly. I think he's going to be one of those guys where he gets the ball very seldomly this year. As the season goes on, he'll get more touches. You're going to be like, wow, I want to see this guy get the ball more because every time he gets it, I think he's going to score a touchdown.
Yeah. And that's kind of how Curtis Samuel was his rookie year in 2017. It was like, dude, why aren't we using Curtis Samuel? And then as the year went on, he touched it more and more, so
Absolutely.
I agree with you. I mean, I think that's probably how things will be for Terrace Marshall too. Especially, I feel like early on, David Moore will probably get more of those touches, and then as the season goes on, Terrace Marshall will start to see more opportunities. That's how I would imagine it would go.
I agree. Number 5 on our list, another guy you mentioned, J.C. Horn. I mean, obviously, we think this guy's going to be a breakout player from the beginning. He's going to be starting day one. You know, I can't remember what the draft order was. Was he the first defensive player selected in the draft? Is that right?
Yep, he was. It was a record for the most offensive players in a row to start a draft.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go on record now and say that he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I like
Um,
it.
I like it a lot. I think corner's a position where you grow up pretty quick as a rookie. You get shoved out there against some of the best guys in the league. And this guy, I think he's going to handle it pretty well. I expect him to come out. I think midseason we're talking about, Dan, this was a good pick. I think the guy's going to be rock solid. He's a ball hawk and he can shut guys down. You know, I would fully expect him to have a very, very good rookie season.
Yeah, going back and looking at that, I've looked at some of the stuff he put on like his own YouTube channel. I looked at some of the stuff the Panthers put on. I think a lot of it was in that Panthers Confidential, whatever it's called. that little mini documentary thing they put out. He just seems like an incredibly focused player, just very, very locked in on what's about to happen, and just you can tell he's just got that desire in him to be great, and you can just tell just by watching him talk. I mean, you know, he's just locked in, man, and you throw that on top of he's a physical freak. I mean, he's like, he's not a huge guy. He's like, 210 or 200 pounds or whatever, but he's just
Mhm.
like straight muscle, and he's just built right. I think he's 6'2" ish or something. I mean, the
Mhm.
dude just he looks the part, and most corners don't look like the freak he looks like. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I mean, he just seems to have it all. So, I mean, there's not much more we can say. We've talked about it. We've talked about it, after the draft, talking about it now. I mean, at this point, we're just waiting for him to go out there and see what he can do.
Correct. And I think we'll leave it at that with him. I think we both agree he's going to be very, very good next season. Um, Next player here, I think this is an interesting one, is going to be Dante Jackson. And I feel like I have this conversation with someone every single offseason. um, when is I'm not going to say when's the breakout Dante Jackson season coming, because I feel like ever since he was a rookie, I mean, he's been kind of the same player. It's been extremely high boom, and then there's been some busts. But when the boom is there, it's like, wow, this dude is a good number two corner, very, very solid, super fast. Unfortunately, a lot of injuries because he's a little bit of a smaller guy. Sometimes we get burned. That happens. Sometimes maybe not the best tackler out there. But I think Dante is a guy that I like a lot. He's got some of that dog in him, which I think J.C. Horn has as well, which I think is going to benefit him. I'm assuming this is probably a contract season for him, Dante Jackson. He's a guy I like a lot. I just want to see 1 year of whole consistency, because I think he might be a guy they offer a second contract. He's not a bad player. He's not a great player. He's a solid guy. I want to see more sustainable success, more consistency.
Yeah, and that's the perfect word, for Dante Jackson is consistency. I mean, like when he first came out, we knew he was undersized, so it was like, all right, let's see how this goes. Well, then he came in and he showed that size didn't matter. And then a little bit of time went on, it was like that size started to show itself because he couldn't tackle anybody, especially, the last probably end of 2019 and then into last year. And honestly, man, it just looked like he wasn't even all the way interested half the time last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been really critical of Dante Jackson. You know, but the reason I have been is because when he first came in to the league, he showed he could play, and then it was like that desire wasn't there anymore. So I don't know if playing with a guy like J.C. Horn, like I just talked about, and you just talked about, this guy, he has that dog in him. He's got that passion. Maybe that'll help bring it back out of Dante Jackson. But there's just for me, I like Dante Jackson enough that I would want him on my team,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not. I mean, I'm still not confident in him being an outside corner. I still think he's a slot guy. I've said it a million times in the past. I think he's a chess piece player. You bring him in certain situations, certain packages, certain matchups that you like, but he's not an every down player for me.
I agree a lot with what you said. I think that he is best used in the slot, and that's okay because you need very, very good slot corners to cover some of these guys. Just because he's not a great outside corner doesn't mean he's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say, well, look at Captain Munnerlin. That was a guy we had here for years. I mean, he made a whole career being a slot corner.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And I think the reason that we're so critical of him is because when he first came in, he had like an interception every the first 4 weeks of the season. We're like, this guy is a freaking monster, he's an absolute ball hawk, which you don't is rare in today's league. You see a lot of guys that are just solid shutdown corners. They don't really have a ton of picks. This guy's a ball hawk. He wants to intercept the ball, which is great. So, if we could just get more consistency, I think sometimes, if it might not go his way, sometimes he can kind of break out of, his focus. If they can just bring that back into him and just have one really, really good solid season, you know, injuries, whatever it is, just stay on the field, stay consistent, and just, you know, come ready to work. And I think the reason we're so critical is because we see how good he really could be. He could be a very, very good player. And I think hopefully we can see more of that in just this season.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, for me, the interceptions are great. The flashiness is great. He's made some awesome plays in his career. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, if you can't come up and make a tackle in the flat, I don't want you on my defense. And that's where he struggled. So, if he can clean that up, he's still young too. If
Mm-hmm.
he can clean that up, he has a potential to be a really good player. But, right now he's just too inconsistent for me, to stand up here and say I want that guy as a starting corner on my defense, because I really don't. But obviously it looks like that's going to be his spot, so he'll have a chance to prove it, and like you said, maybe earn that second contract. But it's going to come down to consistency for him.
It's actually weird how hard it is to find, good physical corners that love to tackle. Because, I mean, I'll be 100% honest with you. I mean, I'm not the biggest guy in the world. When I played corner in high school, I was like 6'1", like 180 pounds. When you get some of these big boys running at you, the last thing you want to do is tackle. I'm going to tell you that right now. But
Yep.
when you get to that pro level, man, it's a lot different. But, it's really important to find good physical corners that can tackle and that can cover. It's just something you don't see a whole lot. You either get either or.
Yeah,
So
it's hard to find both.
if he can just improve a little bit on his tackling, I think that would do wonders for him. And, contain the outsides a little bit more and maybe force the guys back inside and let the linebackers finish it up. But, yeah, if he can just get in there and just work on his tackling a bit, I think that could do a lot for him.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to me, that's, his coverage isn't always the best, but to me, tackling's a way bigger deal.
I agree.
And I think that's one of the things that made older corners come in for Ron Rivera and be effective, is because they could play zone, and then you could trust them to come up and make a tackle. And
Right.
if you can trust a corner to come up and make a tackle in zone, that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. So moving on to our next guy, someone that you predicted again, Derek Brown, up there in the middle. I was kind of pissed off at a lot of fans this season. In the beginning of the season, Derek Brown, just starting, coming into the NFL rookie, made a couple, had a couple penalties. I think he led the league in penalties for a little bit in the beginning of the season. But I'll tell you what, come midway through the season, that dude cleaned it up. And for the last half of the season, he was what we thought he could be. And I think a lot of people were, just – I think they just expected number 8 defensive tackle or number whatever pick in the draft, number 1 defensive tackle. He doesn't have the sacks. He doesn't have this. Listen, he's not that kind of guy that's just going to go there and sack the quarterback. He's not Aaron Donald. That's fine, because what he is he's a damn good run stuffer, and he does stuff that you don't see in the stat sheet. And I think that he struggled a little bit early on, but he very quickly cleaned that up, and I think he's only going to get better. The dude's going to be – he's going to be a beast. He's going to be an all-pro. I have no doubt.
Yeah, I love Derek Brown, man. And I love the pick when we made it. And, I loved him at the beginning of the year when everybody hated him because, like you said, he just does things that, won't necessarily be on the stat sheet, but he's making a difference, man. He'll have 2 and 3 guys blocking him. And when you have Brian Burns on the outside, if you have a guy who can eat up blockers in the middle, I mean, that frees you up. That frees up one of the best pass rushers in the game to go do his thing, for 60 minutes.
Correct.
So, but I also think, as the season went on, he started compiling some of those numbers, and then people started waking up a little bit. But
Yeah.
I think he's a good pass rusher too for a defensive tackle. I mean, he's a good all around player, and defensive tackle is not a position where guys typically come in and take the league by storm. It takes a little time, first of all, but second of all, I mean, I thought he had a great rookie year, and I think I think the sky's the limit, and he's got a good head on his shoulders, man. He comes ready to work every day. He wants to be great. I mean, I love Derek Brown. I think, you give it a couple years, he's going to be, right at the top, if not the best defensive tackle in the league. And people who said stupid things about him when he was, 2 games into his career are going to feel stupid.
I agree. I agree 100%. And I think he's a better pass rusher than people give him credit for. And he's only going to get better. Um, and it's funny that you mentioned people were pissed. A lot of people were really pissed that we didn't take Isaiah Simmons at that pick. Well, I know it's only 1 year into each of their careers, but right now I think we're absolutely winning picking him over Isaiah Simmons. I still think Isaiah Simmons is going to end up being a good player, but Derek Brown, a sure-handed potential all-pro defensive tackle. How can you say no to that?
Yeah, I think Isaiah Simmons is on the right trajectory to be a good, probably a Pro Bowl player. I mean, towards the end of last year, he started showing, what he could do.
Yeah.
But, that being said, I mean, Derek Brown, man, he is going to be a certified game wrecker, man.
Yep.
I mean, he's just going to be a beast in the middle. And you saw him do it all in college. You saw him do it some last year, just throwing bodies around, like beanbag chairs. I mean, the dude's a monster, and I can't wait to see what he does this year and, the future after that.
Absolutely. So coming down to our last player here, I think someone that it's an interesting pick here. Joey Sly, the kicker.
Huh.
This is a guy that he's been on, I think this is his 3rd year on the team now. I was never the biggest fan of Graham Gano. I think he made a lot of – Graham Gano is a really, really good kicker. Let me say this first. Very, very good kicker. I think people kind of underestimated just how good he was. He did miss some critical kicks, but he also made, a lot of field goals that, kind of put us in position to win some games. He was he was consistent. Now, they got rid of him for pay reasons, for money. They bring in Joey Sly, a guy who's got an absolute monster of a leg, but has struggled with accuracy and consistency issues. I don't know if it's really going to change much. I don't really see kickers either get better. I think they usually just kind of are what they are. I could be wrong. But I like Joey Sly a lot. I mean, I remember last year he attempted the longest field goal in history and came up about this short. But I like to see the guy do well, but, we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, the way the recent history has gone, we pretty much had our pick between, Graham Gano or Harrison Butker. And then it was like we took Graham Gano. And then, like a year later or whatever, it was like we were getting rid of him for Joey Sly. So it seems like out of the 3 we had our chance at our choice of, we, picked the 2 wrong choices. So, it's whatever. I mean, Graham Gano was fine, I guess. You pretty much nailed it. But to me, Joey Sly's, he's pretty similar to Graham Gano. I mean, the consistency's not always there. And just like Graham Gano, like you said, he has a huge leg. Dude can crush the ball, but, you never know when he's going to miss one at, the worst time. Most inopportune time to miss a field goal is probably when he's going to miss a field goal. And he's had some issues with extra points too. So, I mean, if he's our kicker, which, this year he'll be our kicker, that's whatever. But, I'm not going to be mad the day that they bring in someone else.
It's funny because Harrison Butker has become, I think the consensus best kicker in the league, or top 2.
Yeah.
And, it's funny because at the time the Panthers, they didn't have the balls to really say, Graham Gano, we're going to cut you and roll this rookie because of the contract he had. And, it bit him in the ass. They could have probably the best kicker in the league, which is really, really important, a lot more important than people think. But, we'll see what Joey Sly does again. I have high expectations for him, but, just like Dante Jackson, want to see that consistency.
Yep, no doubt. No doubt.
Absolutely. So that concludes that list of the top 8. A lot of people that I expected. I think another person to look out for is I'm excited about Shi Smith. I think that this dude might be able to make some plays. Hopefully he gets a roster spot. I think he will. Um, I think we're kind of heavy at wide receiver right now, but I think come later on in the season, this dude can make some plays, and I think maybe on special teams, and then kind of come in later on in the season, make a couple grabs, and really show why he should be a part of this roster. I think he's going to be a sneaky good player next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's another guy, who can carve out a role for sure. I'm a big fan of his. I have been since, before we drafted him. So I would love to see him, come in and prove that he belongs. And I think he does. And I think he will, whether that's this year, who knows, but I think he's going to be one of those guys where you look at him and say, wow, I don't know how he lasted to the 6th round of the draft. Because he can play. I mean, he's a little undersized, but he can play. So, you know, and we don't have really, that little shifty wide receiver,
Mm-hmm.
on our offense right now. So that role's kind of up for grabs if he wants to take it.
I'm still waiting on Kiaris Garrett to blow up on
That's
our
right,
team.
man.
I'll
Omar
never for,
Bayless.
I'll never forget when we
What was the
signed
other
him,
one?
and on our practice squad or whatever, people were
Yep.
like, "This is the best signing the Panthers have ever made," and I was pumped. He was like the best college wide receiver of all time, like statistic wise or something like that, and it just never happened, unfortunately.
Yeah. Somehow undrafted. I think there was another receiver that same year. I can't remember. Or maybe it was like right after that. I
Probably
remember
close to it.
him, Marvin McNutt. Remember Marvin McNutt?
Yes, Marvin McNutt.
And I guess Omar Bayless is still on the roster right
Who
now.
was the guy? I think it was it Marvin McNutt who caught a touchdown like in a regular season game or a preseason game, and people were going nuts. So like this dude is going to be a baller, and then it never happened.
Probably. It was him and Tavares King like at the same
It
time.
was it was one of those
It
guys.
was like in the preseason. It was like, oh, these guys are awesome. And then I think neither one of them even made the team.
I don't think so.
McNutt definitely didn't make the team. And King, I can't remember if he was on the roster for like a couple weeks before they cut him. I can't remember. But both those guys were like awesome in the preseason, and it was like nothing after that. And it was like when we had no wide receivers either. So
I think that was the year we went in with like Jason Avant, and
yeah, it was like
I don't even know who else.
it was that time frame somewhere around there, like 2014 ish.
Yeah, man, that was a rough season. That was a weird one. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, we'll see what happens. I look forward to seeing these guys come out and play.
yeah. Nice
Now,
little article. Shout out to whoever you said.
yeah, let me get his name real quick so everybody can check out the article. It's on, let's see here, pantherswire.usatoday.com. Tim Weaver, go check it out. Nice article. I like some of the picks he made in there.
Shout out Panthers Wire, Tim Weaver.
But let's talk about the biggest news of
Let's
the
do it.
day. The
Is this number
biggest,
related?
it is.
I can
DJ
tell.
Moore, after I just bought his jersey last year, has decided to change his number to number 2. And I got to be honest with you, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. As much as I dislike all the other ones, I don't dislike it. I think 2 looks good on him. I can get behind it. I was already going to buy another jersey anyway. I buy a new jersey every year. It's kind of my thing, so I wasn't mad about that. But I kind of dig it, man. I think 2 looks kind of dope. I got to be honest.
Yeah, man, I like it too. As much as you and I hate the number rule, I cannot lie. 2 looks good on DJ Moore. 8 looks good on JC Horn. So, I'm not saying I wanted those guys in single digits, but, I'm not as mad as I thought I was going to be with the way it turned out because it looks all right. I can't lie. It's still going to be annoying and weird, but it looks all right.
The one thing I don't want to see is Brian Burns change his number to 9. I like 53 on him. I think
I do too. I
that's
think he
like no
makes
one.
that number cool. That's what's so
He
cool about
does,
him
yeah.
wearing it,
Because who the hell else wears 53 that you know of that's good or like noticeable?
There's
No one
somebody
that
for
I
the
know.
Steelers back in the day, I think, wore 53.
So it's like that's kind of like his number, like especially like in today's current age, like that's your number. Like, hey, you made number 53 like popular.
Yep.
So I hope he doesn't change. I like that number on him.
Yeah, he's teased it a couple times now, but I don't know. It's kind of died down here a little bit, so maybe it won't happen.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point in the season now where it's like, you either got to do it now or it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because once training camp pulls around, that's probably going to be a tough thing to do.
It's interesting because I was thinking, like, if he was going to change his number, he would have done it to 99, which is what he wore in college. But instead, he's looking at just the single 9.
Correct. I don't know. That's weird.
And McCaffrey's going to stay away from the 5, so that's cool. But that would have been honestly that would look nice too. But I don't want him to do it, but that would look nice too.
I like the deuce on him, man. I think that's a good look.
I do too. I
like
think I'm a little biased because I wore number 5 too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember watching you in the NFL.
Yeah,
really,
man, you know how I do. I just go
man.
out there and score 6
You're
touchdowns, Pro Bowl.
Oh my goodness. You remember who was it? Brandon Wager or Wagger, whatever his name was. That we had
another preseason.
Dude, I love I'm gonna make a whole like YouTube channel just dedicated to like preseason standouts because
That's what we should do is do a all Panthers preseason team.
Yes,
That'll
we
be our
should.
next episode.
Let's do that. We should absolutely do that. An all preseason Panthers team because there are so many guys that I got into. I was like, this guy is a preseason warrior. He's making a name for himself, and then you never hear from him again.
You know who was another one was the guy we drafted him out of Stanford, who's another white running back out of Stanford, Gaffney,
Yep.
Tyler Gaffney.
Tyler Gaffney, yeah.
Yeah, and then I can't remember what happened. I think he got hurt. He was a beast too in the preseason and in camp.
I think so.
He just signed with the Patriots recently.
Really?
Yeah, I guess he went and played baseball for a little while, and like now he's coming back to the NFL. He's doing the Tim Tebow.
Oh well, he's going on the right team. Yeah, that's awesome. No, yeah, I strongly like the idea of doing the all-time Panthers preseason. There's nothing used to get me more fired up than watching Joe Webb come in late in the game and just start turning up, and then you're just like, oh my God, Joe Webb.
I used to call Joe Webb because he was our third string quarterback for a little while, for a few years in a row there, and he would come in the preseason and he would like lead these comebacks. I used to call him the preseason Brett Favre because he would come in and he would just be scrambling all over the field, throwing crazy passes, making crazy comebacks. It's like that made the preseason, dude. It's Joe Webb time. Let's go.
Joe Webb. I tell you what, man, God, I love Joe Webb. I think it's, and then when he wasn't playing quarterback, which, I mean, during the regular season he wasn't, but when he wasn't doing that, he's playing special teams. He's playing a little bit of receiver. I mean, this guy, he's doing it all, man. I don't know what Joe Webb's doing. He's probably retired, but Joe Webb, I'm a big fan.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, I think he's done now, but I know he's with the Texans there for a little while. Well, he was with the Bills after he left us, obviously, because where else would he go? And then he went to the Texans, and I think that was his last stop. I haven't heard anything about him since then.
I'm gonna have to
shout out to Joe Webb.
Shout out to Joe Webb. I'm gonna make sure he sees this. I'm gonna find his social media page and send him this link.
That's the jersey you should get, bro. You get a Joe Webb jersey.
I should get a Joe Webb jersey. It's funny because I was on Panther shop looking at jerseys, looking ones to get. Man, they have like Teddy Bridgewater jerseys for like $50. I'm like, dude, you better. No one is going to pay a single dollar for that. Unless it's some like grandma who their grandson's like, oh, buy me a jersey. And then they don't know shit. And then they just go in there and buy a random jersey. That's the only sell you're getting off people that still aren't on the team.
Yeah, I saw people on Twitter that was happening to them at Christmas. They were getting Teddy Bridgewater jerseys. They're just like, dang it, dude. Like, this is the one I didn't want. Because, at that point, we all knew he was gone. And everybody hated him. I don't know. People might, if it was like me, you, and like 3 other dudes, and we all just pitched in like $10 so we could like take it to the tailgate and burn it for like the memory of burning it at the tailgate. Like I could see how they get $50 for it.
I could, yeah. I'd like to see all the stocks of old just Teddy Bridgewater. That's funny. Like I want to know what exactly. I know like a lot of times when like a team when they play in the Super Bowl, they already print all the stuff up for the teams, and then whoever
Yeah.
loses, they just give all that stuff out to like I don't know some random
Send it to
country.
Sudan. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they take. That's weird to me how that happens.
Yeah, man. There's like some confused kids in Ethiopia right now, man. They're like, Panthers Super Bowl 50 champs, let's go.
I know exactly. Like it's crazy to me to think about that, but yeah, man. I definitely want to do the preseason thing. I think that's really fun. I need to start doing some research.
Do it,
Who's
man.
going to be? I think Joe Webb's going to be my starting quarterback on my preseason team.
Ooh, man.
Might be. I think we might go 4-0 in the preseason with him at quarterback.
I'm gonna have to see who I go with. I don't know. I'm gonna pull out somebody even more random.
Oh my God, I got to start doing some research now. Dudes, God, I'm pumped about this. Let's go ahead and do it right now.
Hey, man, we probably could.
But that's pretty much all I got for tonight. Anything else that you wanted to touch on or talk about?
Nah, man. We did a good job squeezing a decent amount of time out of not having anything to talk about. So,
hey, shout out to Tim Weaver, man. He really carried us this episode. Shout out to him. Shout out to him and shout out to Joe Webb.
Joe Webb, baby.
So,
one thing I didn't like about Joe Webb, he's a quarterback and he didn't wear a single digit.
That's
But he did play receiver, so I guess he made up for it.
Yeah,
Dude, he could have been a trailblazer if he wore a single digit back then, because they would have had him on the roster as a quarterback, so he could have, wore number 8 or whatever, but then they could have split him out to wide receiver. He could have been the trendsetter years ago, man. He could have been the first wide receiver in single digits.
I think at the end of every preseason, they should give out what's called the Joe Webb Award, and it's basically the MVP of the preseason.
MVP.
I think they should do preseason awards. I think that would be.
Hey, that's what we can do. We can start. We can have the Joe Webb Player of the Game in the preseason. Every preseason.
Joe Webb Player of the Game in the preseason. I love it because, listen, man, most of these guys aren't going to make the team. They might not ever play football again. Why not give them something? Yeah.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
So all the guys on the roster trying to make it, we salute you.
We salute you. That's right. Big preseason fans right here, man. You already know.
Preseason fans, absolutely. God, I love the preseason. But that's all we got for tonight. I appreciate you guys tuning in and joining us. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll be back next week. We'll have our preseason rosters ready to roll, and then maybe take a couple callers. But we're getting closer to OTAs. We'll be finishing up. Then it's going to die down for a little bit, and then we're getting into training camp. And then before you know it, season's going to be here. I'm fired up. I'm ready to roll.
Heck yeah, man. Can't wait for this season to get going. Things are looking good. Everybody who's here, hit us with that like and subscribe and share. Tell your friends, grandmas to check us out. And, next week we're going to be dropping that all-time Panthers preseason roster or lineup. So, oof.
I can't wait to get started.
It's going to be dirty. All right, man. Well, peace out, everybody. Good night, and see you next time.
All righty, guys. We'll see you. Thank you.